Cal the Catster. Yeah, this is a review of Star Trek Picard Episode 8, Mercy. I think Joe Menendez directed this one. Yeah. In this particular one, Picard and Paskainen are being interrogated by a pseudo FBI agent who's actually one of those X-Files guys. He's basically he met aliens years ago and he's freaked out. So yeah. So that's the subplot. Meanwhile, Raffi and Seven are find that Jurati is trying to Borgify herself by grabbing batteries out of a cell phone and batteries out of cars, although a car battery is different from a cell phone battery. Nickel hydride battery and nickel and acid dry cell batteries, a different thing. So yeah, it's different. Now, it would make sense if she went after, say, electric cars, broke into the batteries to an electric car, which is a nickel battery. But she didn't do that. Yeah, so with an electric vehicle, it makes sense. But yeah, she doesn't kill them. She tries to choke Jurati and leaves. There's a flashback scene, a stroke of Raffi in the leaves. There's a scene where there's a flashback to Raffi talking Elrond into going to Starfleet, manipulating him. There's a manipulation line in there. Yeah, which a scene that probably should have been in the first episode where he gets killed, quote unquote. It should have been there, not now, but earlier in the series. The alien monsters thing turns out to be Vulcans who were on the Earth. And Mind Meld, the kid version of the FBI X-Files guy. It looks like a doughy version of Lupin from Harry Potter. Doughy version of Lupin from Harry Potter. There's the Adam Soong guy who's clearly evil. The girl has figured out that she's one of 8 clones, I guess, of him. He cloned himself somehow and made piglets. Some of them lived to be 5 or 6, but for some reason she lived to be 20 something. Clones doesn't make sense. So he's related to the future Soongs, but he's not them. He's some other spin-off of Soongs. Jurati Borg shows up at the end to recruit him after the... Well, first of all, the daughter figures it out, confronts him, and then vicariously through Q's intervention with the freedom vial thing is able to escape. Thus continuing the Soong line, I guess, which doesn't really work because didn't Maddox create her in the other story? So they kind of retconned that because she was created from positron or something, a neuron. They sort of left that out. They sort of forgot that. So she's not literally a descendant of Soong, and if she wasn't, she wouldn't call herself that. So yeah, she would get married. She wouldn't be called Soong. She would be called whatever that is. If she did that generations later, she would not be called a Soong. It would be something else. So and also, if she's like a clone or something, how does that even work? It was always odd that he had a sort of a Korean name anyway. Data's father was Soong, and Brent Spiner is not Korean, but okay. But yeah, Soong or Scandinavian Soong, perhaps. Or Scandinavian Soong. Yeah, the Borg Queen taking car batteries doesn't make sense. The X-Files guy, after There's a Q scene where Q shows up as one of the FBI guys while they're being interrogated, and Q can't make past Guinan go away, and his powers aren't working because he's dying or going mad or something. It's like and Q says something about humans being stuck in the present, and so does she, and then there's something about the void, like the end of the continuum not being there. So they conveniently probably won't show it. I hope they do, because I did in my Chimera fan film. Yes, the Q, and it's still the Overlords. That's what's going on. Sung is an Overlord, and he's a Cillian. Q is also a Cillian, and Guinan is a Cillian, and then that X-Files guy is probably a Cillian too. So there's lots of Cillians on the planet. And maybe the Picard ancestor who has melancholy is also a Cillian. So that would explain all of that. All it's explained away is it's part of a fanfic, which it can't be. Yeah, obviously. But sure, why not? So, and you have, for some reason, Q Jurati goes to Sung, who agrees to be evil, because she explains that in one other timeline, he's like a savior of humanity for saving the Earth from having an ecological disaster. He trusts her implicitly for some reason, just like as he trusted Q implicitly for some reason, threatening Q earlier. And then he calls in the Special Forces guys that show up, and she assimilates one of them, but the assimilation isn't perfect because she's not a Borg anymore, she's a Board. Back in 2024, she would be a Borg. She would be a Cillian Borg. And the Cillian Borg are the ones that are left behind, just like him and Q. The Cillian Borg are the ones that, because in Cillian space, there's that fan film again. In Cillian space, we thought of them before Star Trek did. And our version was kids that didn't want to play the Star Trek role-playing game, Star Trek role-playing game, that got rejected because they didn't want to play it. That they were turned into the villains. We were all kids, all together, and in college we were college students doing it. So they would come back as villains, and they would be the Board, and they would have the Nintendosis, Crodence, and whatever. They would have various powers, and they would be able to assimilate like the Borg. The Borg was introduced in '87 on Next Generation. They were sort of a replacement for the Bluegills. Made them scarier, because little parasite dudes is not scary, but assimilation dudes that corrode you, that's scary. Yeah, so, and their assimilation is all over the place and weird. Although it does explain the Jurati Picard sounding Borg that wants Picard's help in the very first episode, because that's clearly her timeline. And somehow preventing the launch somehow has them not discover the alien cure or whatever, which doesn't make sense. They just put that in there. The cure is magic blood, but it's blue, in this case instead of red. There's a lot of these episodes tend to have the same issues they've all had, in that they wrap up plots non-discernibly. They did sort of explain how Picard got away from the meeting, though. Apparently they ran away and got in a vehicle and went to the clinic. And the clinic was nearby to the event. They should have showed that, though, because they didn't, so it was a plot hole. They went back and kind of showed it. They should have showed it earlier at the time. Instead of making that episode 10 minutes short, they should have showed it. You have to, since they've held everyone's hand through the whole thing, they should have showed that too. They didn't. Anyway, so that is Picard, Mercy. They're setting it up that it's the other universe. I think it kind of already is. It's already the Mirror Cillian universe anyway that they've gone to. So